Strawberry feels forever. Well, not in my books. Good morning. We're going to do something a little bit different today. So you would have seen recently I did sort of 10 reasons why I think Neroli is the best fragrance note in perfumery. Today we're going to go the opposite. We're going to go a little bit the opposite way. We're going to talk about strawberry, and I'm going to say the pros and cons, in my opinion, of that fragrance note. And I want you to let me know at the end what side of the fence you sit on. Now, I've got 3 strawberry fragrances today that we're going to talk about while I go on my run. Strawberry Feels Forever by Lush. Zara Red Rodeo, which is now discontinued, but Womo Winter smells exactly the same by Zara, so you can still get exactly the same scent DNA. And then you've also got Zara Ultra Glitch #Dystopia 004. Yes, nice memorable name, which has a pastry cream delight smell, which is like strawberry. It's got this real strawberry pastry smell. So yeah, the reason I said earlier on, the reason I wanted to make this is I've not been enjoying it so much lately, even though it's kind of that perfect season to wear strawberry. Yeah, I've started to go off it more and more. I want to give my reasons why, but I also want to talk about the positives of them as well, because there are some positives that I've noticed with the note of strawberry when I've worn them in fragrances as well. So it's not all bad, that is for sure. And I want you just to let me know, as I said earlier, what side of the fence you want to sit on. Are you on the side of strawberry, or do you also think, I'm not the biggest fan? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go for my run first. We're going to apply... We'll do Zara Red Rodeo for the first part of my workout today. This is quite strong on the strawberry, I must admit. And there's leather notes in this. Now, you do not detect leather. I think there must be a bit of pepper in this. But the main thing you detect is that strawberry. Certainly strawberry is the selling point of this. I think that's the reason the bottle's red, of course. And yeah, it's a fruity fragrance. It's a youthful, fruity fragrance. And it won my tournament. Honestly, when I did the first sort of fragrance videos on the show, it won my tournament because I was so impressed with it. I thought it was a brilliant fragrance. But, you know, I'm now sort of halfway through this. I can give a bit more of an opinion. So what we're going to do, and head up for a run, we're going to do 2 pros on that, having strawberry in fragrances, and 2 cons. So yeah, I'll see you out there. And we are off. And I want to start, I think, with a positive today. As we're going to say some cons, I think we should start with a pro of why I think strawberry can be a good note in perfumery. And the first reason is it's inexpensive in general. From my experience, obviously I've got 3 sprays that I'm wearing today during my workout that have strawberry as a dominant note, and none of them are too expensive. You're paying under £40 for all of them. And look, I'm sure there are some expensive fragrances with notes of strawberry in, but as a note it isn't as expensive as others. It's not as, you know, it's not considered as niche in the fragrance world. They say, you know, oud is normally expensive, leather is normally expensive, boozy notes can be expensive. This one isn't. This one isn't an expensive note in general. It seems to be easy to kind of get, easy to source for these fragrance companies, so they don't charge too much. And that's good for a lot of people, because at the end of the day, not everyone's a big fragrance enthusiast and wants to spend £60-70 on fragrances. Some people just want something to be uplifting, inviting, clean, not divisive, and make them feel good. And strawberry as a note, I think, does that. It ticks those boxes. It reminds you of the summer, whether you're eating it or whether you're spending it on a fragrance. It's kind of that positive, happy thing that, yeah, reminds me of Wimbledon, with the tennis in particular. So that is the first positive of strawberry and perfumery, the fact it is relatively inexpensive as certain fragrance notes go. Going to move on to the first con now, and obviously we've just said about how it can be a relatively cheap note in perfumery. And that kind of links to the fact it is a bit of a con, because I think strawberry in fragrances, in the cheap fragrances I've got, I'm obviously wearing Zara Red Rodeo at the moment, they do smell a bit cheap. I think strawberry so far, in my experience, tends to be quite synthetic smelling. You know, one of my least favourite Lush fragrances is this Strawberry Feels Forever, because the one thing I love about Lush is their notes feel really natural, really natural smelling. Almost too realistic at times, that they smell like an actual food item. This strawberry note in the fragrance does smell cheap to me. It does smell like a synthetic molecule. And for someone who's really into fragrances, yeah, I wouldn't want to spend any more than what I'm paying for the 3 strawberry fragrances. Again, I spent around £20-40 on all of these, and I wouldn't want to pay any more. And look, that's fine. At the end of the day, it's just ticking the box. It does what it says on the tin, but you can get other notes in perfumery where you go, wow, that smells a lot more expensive. You know, I look at, we just spoke about booze being a more expensive note in general. Bentley for Men Intense, that I know we're talking about a top level scent here.
the boozy note in that was far more expensive than £25. And just so far from my experience of having strawberry in fragrances, when I'm paying that sort of price range, none of them have smelled any more expensive than the price I've been paying. So for that reason, I just think strawberry in general, so far from my experience, again, I'm sure someone can tell me a more expensive strawberry fragrance, but they all smell very synthetic, very cheap, and a little bit underwhelming. So yeah, I'm going to have to just mark it down for that reason. Okay, so let's go on to the second pro of having a strawberry as a note in perfumery. And I don't feel like strawberry was a note that was used 30, 40 years ago. I feel like it's used a lot more now in the last, 5, 10, 15 years, let's say. And I think the reason for that is because it's quite unisex. I feel like brands are certainly moving more towards having unisex fragrances because it increases the pool of people who will buy it. Whereas in the past, fragrances tend to be just male or just female. And strawberry is one of those, straight down the middle. Most fruity notes can be, but they can lean quite feminine. And of course, I'm wearing Zara Red Rodeo at the minute. That is actually just a men's fragrance. But I do think a woman could put it off. I don't think it's really, really hard to pull off. And I don't think strawberry's a note ever will be. I think when you see unisex fruity fragrances, I think strawberry's going to be quite prominent in it. And that's because, again, it's not something that people don't recognise. People know the smell of strawberry, whether they've got it in like a food item, like some bubble gum, an air freshener or anything like that. It's not divisive, and it's not going to be divisive for wearing it as a fragrance. So the fact it has that unisex ability, and it's something that most people smell every day, and gives that summer vibe which we just touched upon, that's a positive, and that means I think it'll stay around for a little bit longer in most modern perfumery. Okay, going on to the second con then, and I'm kind of linking the pros and cons together a bit here. Now, I've just said, as a pro, strawberry is quite a unisex note in perfumery. It's used in men's and women's fragrances, but mainly in unisex scents. The problem I have with it is quite juvenile. Now, look, I quite like the odd just alpha male masculine scent, and let's be honest here, strawberry, fruity sweet notes aren't really that, they're not that at all. I couldn't see my dad wearing a really strawberry heavy fragrance because it lacks that depth, that complexity about it, that little bit of sophistication. And I think so far from my experience of having these strawberry fragrances, they're all built for a younger person, maybe a late teen, early 20s, maybe pushing into your 30s. And where I've touched upon the fact I think it smells quite cheap, synthetic, it just doesn't feel like, for someone who really wants to make a statement, from their fragrance being the main selling point and the thing that people are going to remember you by, I'm not sure strawberry's the one. So yeah, just the fact it's a little bit more juvenile, I think goes against it for me. Certainly for those who really like, sophisticated scents, maybe those who are more into their fragrances. I feel strawberry's more suited to people who maybe aren't as bothered about that, maybe less interested in fragrances, just want something wearable. So for myself personally, that's what I'm going to mark it down on for this round. It's time to up the pace a little bit now, so I've put on Lush Strawberry Feels Forever body spray, and let's go on to the next pro. So our third pro is, I think, strawberry, and to be honest with you, fruity notes in general you can kind of wear through most of the year because it can come in different forms. You can kind of get that fresh fruity which feels more suited towards the summer, more casual, again that feeling of strawberries and cream which is like Wimbledon in the summertime. But you can also get that more sweet date night type fragrance, so I put on Red Rodeo earlier, and obviously strawberries and cream, if you have like that more vanillic type fragrance rather than like a C note and strawberry combination, it definitely leans itself more to those winter times. Otherwise it can get quite cloying. So you can get a very sweet fruity type fragrance, or you can get those more fresh fruity ones that are more suited towards the summer, and strawberry's great for that. That means, to be honest, I think strawberries are notes best for those transition seasons, again spring and then that sort of fall winter time where it's just starting to get a little bit colder. That's where I think strawberry works best, and in that sense it gives it good versatility, and it just means you can, it's never going to be wrong for any situation. You don't have to go and buy multiple fragrances, and that's great. That's good for someone who's not particularly interested in having like 5, 6, 7 scents and having one for every single occasion. You can pretty much wear it all the time, and that gives signature scent potential. And I think Red Rodeo out of the three definitely has that, but Strawberry Feels Forever, which I'm wearing now, if you just had one Lush fragrance, it's going to do a lot of jobs for you. And I'm sure you'll get some comments along the way, or make people remember you anyway, that's for sure. It's definitely got something a bit different about it, I can't think of any fragrance I've got in my collection that smells like Strawberry Feels Forever. I'm sure I could pick it out if someone blindfolded me and I had to test it. So on to the third con, which again is kind of linked to the Pro a little bit. I don't think strawberry as a note particularly blends well with other notes in fragrances. If we talk about the three that I'm wearing today, so obviously Red Rodeo I wore first during my run. As I mentioned, that has leather in it, and you cannot really detect the leather. If you just smelt this for the very first time, you're not thinking too hard about the composition of it. You're just going to say it smells like strawberry. So strawberry is the most dominant there. It doesn't feel like the other notes are particularly playing a huge part of the fragrance. You almost question why they're actually in the scent. And the one I'm wearing now, Strawberry Feels Forever by Lush, I find the cream's too dominant in this. The vanillic sort of cream overpowers the strawberry, and it almost makes the name, you can detect the strawberry, but it feels a little bit more misleading. It just feels like the cream needed to be mentioned a bit more in this, because I was expecting, before I'd ever smelt this, it to be a really nice juicy strawberry scent, and it's not really. It's overpowered by that cream, and I just found it a little bit underwhelming in that sense. And that maybe if they changed the name, I maybe would have had a different impression. But again, the strawberry there didn't blend particularly well, in my opinion, with the other notes in this fragrance. And then the one that I'll be putting on after the gym today, my Zara Dystopia 004, it's so realistic. It's like a strawberry cream pastry essentially, and it's just almost too realistic in that sense. It's a synthetic note. They mentioned the fact this isn't a natural strawberry note or natural synthetic, it's a synthetic pastry molecule, and I think it's almost too realistic. So in all three there's something different about it that I don't like. One's too realistic, one the strawberry's too prominent, and then the other one it's not prominent enough, and I just think it's one of those notes that doesn't blend as well with other notes in perfumery. Again, you think of some of the most popular notes used today, vanilla, caramel, and even more of those citrus scents like orange, bergamot. They're in these fragrances because they blend really well with other ones as well, and I feel like strawberry's still a little bit, struggles to do that, and then you kind of get that air freshen smell as a result at times. It's a hard one to blend with other fragrances, unless maybe it's because they're synthetic notes. Maybe the syntheticness of these strawberry molecules are just making it too strong, too overpowering in a sense. But that's just my own experience so far. I don't think strawberry blends as well as other notes in fragrances. The fourth pro then of strawberry as a note in perfumery, and this one's always surprised me, and I think it's a little bit underrated in this set. It's projection and longevity. My experience of projection and longevity with strawberry as a note in fragrances has always surprised me. I've done room spray tests with Red Rodeo before, and I've always thought, when I've sprayed it or worn it as a fragrance during, say, a run, I thought, it's not actually that strong. But then when I've come back and done a room spray test, it really fills up a room, and it really stays on your skin. Now that might just be because I've got very synthetic strawberry fragrances, but it might just be that note is one of those that's just slightly stronger than others. We know certain notes in perfumery, smoky notes, tend to have a little bit more longevity, but fruity notes don't always. It's been a bit hit and miss with fruity notes. I've had obviously fig-based fragrances, I've had some sort of sweet candied lemon ones, sweet candied orange ones, but strawberry isn't bad, even better than apple. Apple can sometimes be quite quiet and not the strongest. It can be quite gentle in its, projection. Strawberry's always one that surprises me. You don't notice it yourself. I think you go a little bit nose blind to it, but I think other people around you will notice this more than you think. You may think the fragrance is gone after 4 or 5 hours, but actually it hasn't. And strawberry, I think, will get you noticed. I do believe in that sense people will notice the fragrance on you, and if you're someone who wants projection and longevity, it's not a bad note to go for, because again, it's quite safe, quite easy to pull off, and it will last more than you even realise, because I think you just get so used to having it in your scent bubble. And at the moment I can certainly feel strawberry feels for. I wouldn't be surprised if someone at the gym, whether they say it or not, notices it today. Unfortunately, again, that is going to lead to my next con. So my fourth one, unfortunately, it can be quite cloying. Strawberry as a note can be quite cloying in fragrances. Now it's a little bit twofold, this one. As we said a minute ago, the projection and longevity, the stronger it is, obviously the more you can then sort of get a bit sick of it by the end of the day. Sometimes it's hard to wash them off. I spray my clothing, and when you can't get certain fragrances out your clothing, you do get a bit sick of them. You're like, I have to just put that hoodie in the wash, even though it doesn't need washing because you've only worn it once. The other thing with this though, with strawberry, I find where they're cheap fragrances, or the ones I've had are relatively cheap fragrances, I tend to spray a bit more because I'm not worried. But they also come in 100ml bottles, because let's be honest, a lot of the cheap brands, they're not going to make 50ml bottles if they're only charging £8, £9, £10 for the fragrance in the first place. They're just not going to. They don't need to, essentially. And what you find then is you try and get rid of it. So you spray more, or you just leave it in your cupboard for ages. So you know, it sits in your cupboard for years, and you think, oh, I still have more of that fragrance, and you just get bored of it. You know, I've just found when I first got Red Rodeo, I absolutely loved it by Zara, but now I'm halfway through it, I'm just like, I'm bored of it now. I'd rather, if I had a 50ml bottle of it, I probably would have found it fine, but that scent is just a little bit too much now, a bit too heavy. And over time, even the Zara Dystopia one, when I did my fitness fragrance review on it, which if you want to check it out, I did it a few months ago. I absolutely loved it originally. I had to buy it, but now I'm sort of regretting it because I'm only like 20ml through it. It's just become a little bit more, not a hate at all, but I don't love it as much as I did, because that strawberry note is just a little bit too much now. It's a bit too cloying, and I don't feel like I want to wear it over some of my other fragrances, because, you know, orange scents in the summer I just find a little bit more wearable, and in the winter I'm looking for something a bit more sweeter, a bit more boozy, a bit more vanillic, and yeah, strawberry isn't the one I reach for. So yeah, my fourth con essentially is strawberry as a note can be a bit cloying, and when you get them in 100ml bottles for these cheaper scents, because they tend to be cheaper, you end up just leaving them in your cupboard, or yeah, unfortunately wanting to give them away. My fifth and final pro then for strawberry as a note in fragrances, I'm going to say it like this, and it is a positive. I think it's a really good starter note. If you bought this as a present for someone who's 17, 18, maybe a nephew, maybe your son, I think it's an easy to pull off, safe note. It's got that youthful vibe about it, which we touched upon earlier. It's not going to be too horrible to them. It's not going to be too divisive. They're not going to go, oh, you know, none of my friends smell like this. This smells like an old man. It doesn't have that about it. It's easy to pull off. And to be honest with you, I quite like to put it in a bag, spraying my car with it. You know, it's just good for that sort of dumb reach in its own way as well. And for a younger person, buy them a cheap scent. I don't think they're going to hate this one at all. And again, being unisex, male, female, it's just a safe option to buy as a present, or to start your fragrance journey if you just want to buy something yourself. It's slightly more unique as well, which I think is good, because let's be honest, people are still looking for the smell of blue fragrances, shower gel fragrances. So it's a slight change of pace for someone who really wants to get into it, but just wants to start a little bit safe and a little bit cheaper, which is where I'd always recommend. Don't go straight out for Active Department, because you don't know if you're going to like it. And yeah, I think that's a good thing. I think that's a really good thing. I'd happily buy any of these strawberry fragrances for someone, you know, my mum, for example, even though she's a little bit older, or a friend, a secret Santa. It could do those jobs absolutely fine. And my final con, again, they're all very subjective. I appreciate all my pros and cons today are subjective. You'll probably agree with some and disagree with others. But my final con is I just think there's some better fruity fragrance notes. And I think other brands think that as well. Look at Tom Ford. They've got Lost Cherry. I believe they've released 2 more cherry fragrances in their private blend. You can really use cherry, you know, in perfumery to be a real selling point. Lost Cherry is amazing. It mixes so well with almond sort of nutty notes. It mixes really well with boozy notes as well. It mixes well with chocolate. Cherry and chocolate's just amazing. And I just think it does a better job of that. If you want those statement type scents as a fruity note, better than the strawberry. And when you then think of those more fresh fruity ones, I always think of blackcurrant. Blackcurrant's amazing. Again, Tom Ford does some amazing blackcurrant scents. Pineapple is super popular in fragrances. You know, Aventus, which I'm hoping to get the clone of today, they always talk about that pineapple note in it. I just don't think at the moment strawberries as good as those. I feel like it's a new note. I don't think it's been as prominent in old fragrances as these ones. And I think that's just for the reason is, again, I touched upon the fact earlier, I don't think it blends as well with other notes. I think it smells more synthetic. And I feel like these top brands, if they could use strawberry and utilise it in the right way, they probably would have done. And maybe that's because, again, I don't know if you can get strawberry as a natural note. It doesn't. I still haven't found one. So if anyone can find a natural strawberry fragrance for me, one that smells really like fresh ripe strawberries, let me know, because I'd love to try it. But so far, I've just found I reach for other notes, and that might just be because of what I'm used to. But it's, yeah, you never know. Look, I'm sure these brands will bring them out in time. You know, again, we're looking at fragrance, the way the trends are going. Gourmand fragrances are super popular, and of course strawberry is a gourmand note. So yeah, let's see over the next few years if there'll be a big expensive release by Tom Ford and Active Department. You know, Active Department also do fig, which we touched upon earlier, which I think is a better fruity note in fragrances than strawberry. So it's just my own experience at the moment. Strawberry doesn't feel as luxurious as some of the others, and I just think some of those fruity notes, whether that's to be more of a statement dress up scent or just casually everyday summer type wear, I think there's better out there. So we are nearly at the gym now, so I'm going to do my gym workout. I've of course got strawberry pills forever on. We'll do that. We'll head back after I'll apply Zara Dystopia 004, and then I'll give my concluding remarks about strawberry as a note in perfumery, and then the floor will be yours to decide whether you think it's a good thing in fragrances or it's a little bit overrated, like I think so.
We are back. So it is 1:32, 42,603 steps. Honestly, since I've got back, I have not stopped. My clone fragrances have arrived, so I can't wait to go try those ones in a minute. But Zara Dystopia 004 Ultra Glitch, blah blah blah. That's the last fragrance I said I'd apply today. It's got a strawberry cream type smell to it. It's very nice. It is nice. It's just one of them where it's a huge bottle, and I don't know if I'm going to want to go through all of that in the next year or two, because it is very heavy, very, very realistic, which is what it's meant to be. They basically did a series where synthetic molecules were used to replicate a certain smell that people like. This one was obviously like this strawberry pastry cream. So strawberry, let's talk about strawberry. So I've worn some different strawberry fragrances today. Zara Red Rodeo, Strawberry Feels Forever. Has my opinion changed based on the pros and cons I've given it? Not at all. Look, I've had strawberry fragrances for a little while now. This one I've had at least a year, I believe. And it's just how synthetic they smell to me. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fact they're a little bit juvenile. But there's a place for strawberry. There's 100% a place for strawberry. I don't dislike any of these fragrances, and I will still buy more strawberry fragrances. I just think it lacks a little bit of quality from my experience of the three that I've owned and just others I've smelled in the past. I think there's better fragrance notes that utilise that fruity scent. And I think if it's like a cherry fragrance or a nice soft orange lemonade sort of smell as well, I think I'd prefer it to the strawberry notes that are in these. But I'm really interested to know what you think. Do you like strawberry in fragrances? As I said, it's certainly not a hate, and that's why I wanted to talk about the pros today, because there's certainly not 10 cons about it. But I'm hoping I've kind of given my reason. It's all subjective, of course, that nobody is an expert on fragrances. It's all opinions, whatever you like. And yeah, I just giving you my reasons behind it as well. I wanted to be as unbiased as I can. I'll never sort of be influenced by what I've bought. Whether I've spent 80, 90 pounds on a fragrance, I'll never just say that's great because I feel like I need to because I've spent money on it. Ultimately, I'll just be as honest as I can. And yeah, these three, would I get them again? I'd probably get this one again just because it would intrigue me. But of course, Zara, they'll discontinue a lot of those fragrances before that. But other than that, probably not. As I said, they're casual, easy to put off. What I'm wearing today, it's fine. But yeah, it just doesn't give me that excitement. It wouldn't have got me into fragrances, to be honest with you, if that was the note I was smelling at first. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this one today. Again, I wanted to kind of give a bit of opinion so you can comment as well. And just let me know if you'd like me to do this sort of similar thing as well. I've got a couple of more ideas in mind, but hopefully over the next week or two, you're going to see more of my fitness training reviews for the 6 new clones that have finally arrived. So yeah, thanks for watching today. I'll catch you later.